Welcome back. Not quite steampunk just yet, but it's going to be a steampunk shelf because it's made of wood with pieces of metal. What I'm planning is in this space, which is only taken up with Spider-Man, all this is wasted above the laser cutter. So what I'm going to do, get the focus back in the middle, I'm going to build a shelf that hangs from the ceiling joists using these. They're called something roof straps or something. You can get them in different lengths. I got these ones ordered at the right length and they delivered ones that were too long. Better too long than too short, as my mother used to say. So what I've done is use my angle grinder, which I haven't used for years. Let me show you. I'd forgotten what a lovely thing it is, and they are indeed. Wanting to cut metal, as I've said many times, mainly wood and plastic and electronics in here, but to cut metal, they're fantastic. And I found, luckily, I had another metal cutting blade. Absolutely brilliant, spin around extremely fast, potentially lethal, but I wore safety spectacles and ear protectors, so that's good, and it cut through it like butter through a hot knife, or vice versa. No problems, no injuries. But I'd like to draw your attention, dear friends, to this lethal piece of equipment here, which I will handle very gently. In fact, I probably should put protective gloves on, because having cut these down to the required length and rounded the edges off, as full of the joys of spring, I thought, right, let's measure how long this shelf needs to be. Pulled it out and somehow got my thumb, and I can't show you because I'm holding the camera, but pulled it out with one hand and got my thumb over this side. Oh, excruciating even to mention it. But my thumb was pressing against this side as I whipped this out, and it sliced a very, very effective clean slice into my thumb, which actually bled quite profusely. I've managed to stem the flow with a handy plaster that I found, but watch out, I have to say, in many decades of using these tape measures, not this particular one, oh, advertising, no affiliation, I've just paid a fortune to them actually for this piece of wood, ridiculous, turn it over. Many years of using tape measures, very effectively if I may hasten to add, I have never managed with thousands of openings and closings to cut myself with one. It's absolutely ridiculous. Anywho, mustn't grumble, at least I'm pleased to see I still have plenty of blood to spare and to go around, but I'd rather it stayed on the inside, to be honest with you. What I'm going to do now is to try it again, measure it, mark it out on the wood, and I should have, well I will have, extra to make some edges. This is 12mm ply, which is pretty tough. It's not going to be that huge, but also with the bits I cut off I'm going to use them to make pieces around the edge, which will reinforce it mechanically or structurally, and also stop things falling off the back and sides, hopefully. Right, wood rested on the floor. The reason for having the wooden blocks is I don't want to cut through the carpet, and a circular saw, and one of these very clever things that I can't get in shot. This is, I think, about 1.2 metres long. It's got an adjustable thing at this end that you can slide backwards and forwards, and once you apply pressure it locks it in place, and on the other end it's got a cam assisted, well, a cam driven clamp. It's ever so clever because it gives you a flat edge. So if I lay that down on there and do the calculations up to the marks that I've put on, 2 metres from that side to this side, if I then calculate the distance between this and the blade, clamp that down, run it along, Bob's your uncle, hopefully. And if you haven't got one of those clever clamps, or it's not long enough, like mine wasn't, you can use a piece of wood, preferably one that you know is straight, has got a straight edge. Just clamp it and then run it along. Just make sure you add the measurements to the right side. I speak from experience, as always. Right, got it all cut out. All the bits I'm going to reinforce across where the hangers are with these leftover bits. It's so nice when you can measure out and use wood really efficiently, or any material for that matter. I was, the day before this was delivered, thinking, oh, I should buy some other bit strip wood to reinforce it, all that. I said no, cost an arm and a leg as it was. Let's just use what we've got. And got the edges as well. All I've got left over from that huge 2.4 by 1.2 metre sheet is that bit. How fabulous. I've got the filter fan going, not because I'm spray painting, but it was designed to get dust out of the air, so it's useful to have that going. I've got tons and tons of holes to drill, countersunk holes to fix this thing together. So remembered I had that, which is again very useful. You just tighten it around the drill bit of your choice and it sort of turns it into a countersink. And I get all these glued and screwed. The only reason for using screws, just these short ones, is because it'll hold it together while the glue dries. The glue will really give it the strength that it needs, because in effect I'm going to end up with 3 pieces of 24mm thick ply across, which will be really rigid and stop it bending that way, if you see what I'm getting at. It's very satisfying doing this because the glue squeezes out, which means you know that you've got a lovely amount. I need to drill a whole load of holes along here so that I can put the screws, line this up with the bottom, put a load of screws. Double purpose, stops things falling off the shelf, and also reinforces it between the hangers. And another lovely thing out woodworking is just things like the mortise gauge. I mean, it's an ancient tool designed before many people building and creating amazing things could read or write or measure stuff, but it's so clever. All I need to do, sit that on there, line up the pointer halfway through that top bit here, and then I can just run it along the edge, like arms in the way, and mind, like that. Hit the tripod, and you're left with a line that you probably can't see, but it's there. It's fantastic. My next problem is to get that up there, hanging on 6 of these. Interesting. I'll get back to you. Where there's a will, there's a way. So fantastic, these extending telescopic ladders. Resting it on the lintel, and then I can get right up, and there we are, 3 very large screws. Everything a belt and braces. I mean, this is going to be so strong, I'm sure it could support a small group of people. Never want to under-engineer anything, and the fact is that these joists, I could have a grand piano sitting up there on top of these, and a bath, well, possibly not in the grand piano, but you get my drift. They are very strong, easily strong enough to support this. And the film I'm going to currently watch is Road to Perdition with Tom Hanks, one of Daniel Craig's first roles, I believe, and I'd forgotten how lovely the music was. It's absolutely gorgeous. So let's get on with it. Look at that, I got it all done yesterday, so even got more floor space, admittedly not hoovered yet, but tons of space for a 3D printer and stuff. I may even be able to fit some more tools in, get some new ones, I don't know, it's all very exciting. So currently I have a doorbell which had got a sound recorder and a wireless one, wretched wireless one, so it uses tons of electricity up. The batteries don't last long. Originally it had Jack Nicholson saying, every time you come in here you disturb my concentration, which is hell amusing, but the batteries would run flat after about 2 months. Stupid. Why not just have wired things? But I like the misery of taking up carpets and floorboards and running Cat5 cable around, or whatever, doorbell cable for example. So anyway, that's no good. Luckily it's got a relay inside which works off, everything's overcomplicated obviously. When you ring the doorbell, the relay contacts closer, I can run anything else I want off it, because I've had a series of strange, weird and wonderful doorbells over the years. And the relay, the circuit is also runs a lovely old-fashioned doorbell and dumb waiter. It's not dumb waiter, it's not a dumb butler, I don't know what it is, I can't remember what it's called, someone will point it out, in the kitchen, but you can't hear it from everywhere, so I want to add this. This is a Bing Bong doorbell, and it has been a dream of mine, something I've aspired to for many years, to turn it into, rather than a Bing Bong, to turn it into a Bong Bing doorbell. Now obviously the manufacturing company have done everything they can to stop you doing that, not thinking that anyone would, right down to having, these are the two chimes, having the rubber mounting pads at different spacings and things. But where there's a will there's a way, and as I say, I've got a little bit of time, and rather than hoovering the carpet and finishing tidying, I want to do this. Let's just give it a go. I haven't got enough of those batteries, but I'll use the power supply. Oh, there's something. Talking of which we weren't, well, reliable things. Look at this beautiful thing, this thing of beauty. I wonder if I can hit it with something. Oh, look at that. Rubber mounts haven't perished over the years. Even the sounding thing underneath. Electromagnet here, and it's snapped off, but it had an arm with a little hammer on the end. Beautiful. Look at the size of the connections. That's when they knew how to make things properly. And a lovely cam adjuster to adjust how far it went down to hit. And I've just noticed I've started leaking again from that cut from the other day. Annoying. Can you guess what it is? Well, it's from an early computer. It was used in a bank and then subsequently thrown out. And this was the, as far as I remember, the end of line. So as you were typing away, when you reached the end of the line, this would go bong. Oh, fantastic. That's when they knew how to make things properly. Now, of course, you have nasty, cheap, khaki plastic things. I'll take this to pieces and work out why, after it's pulled off across, the spring doesn't fire it back. How ridiculous. Right, after much cleaning and spring bending, okay, now I need to get it to do it the other way around. I've got this one fitted on, and now all I'm doing is leaving the rubber support in one end and then just lining it up carefully and drilling a new hole. And then, dear friends, having another excuse to use one of my favourite tools, the deburring tool. Oh, fabulous. Right, the moment of truth. Let's see what it does. Oh. That doesn't sound as stupid as I hoped it would. Oh well, never mind. It'll still let me know when someone's at the door, that's the main thing. In this completely haphazard video on what I did after my summer holiday, I've got some batteries. Let's try that. Not very loud, but I suppose once you've got that on, sounding box something or other, I'll get that wired up with the relay contacts here, but I'll put a diode across it because there is a big spark obviously. If you have an inductor such as a coil and you disconnect it, the electricity, well, the magnetic field or something or other doesn't want to stop, so it creates a huge back EMF. I don't know, well, there is a big spark. So, diode across there, let's get it wired up, we'll give it a go. Right, diode in place, wired the wrong way around in effect, so electricity can't flow normally because back EMF is the opposite way round. So this diode will just, any huge voltage, quite often a couple of thousand volts that's created in the reverse direction, will just cancel it out. Yes. Let's give it a go. Cue doorbell. And again. Yes, that's better. We can now hear it upstairs. Hope to see you next time. Thanks again.